Ratchet and Clank, a duo that defined the childhoods of many, including myself, and it's a duo that I haven't had the pleasure of revisiting in quite some time. However, with the recent purchase of a PS5 and Ratchet and Clank A Rift Apart, I feel it's time for a long overdue reunion between myself and that glorious duo, and while we're at it, we'll get the platinum too. So with that being said, our journey begins with another character in another dimension who is dealing with an oppressive regime run by an unknown dictator before cutting to Ratchet and Clank getting ready for a trip down memory lane in the form of a parade that celebrates their heroics, hosted by one Captain Quark, and almost immediately it's crashed by Dr. Nefarious. Why? Because Clank repaired arguably the most dangerous thing in existence, the Dimensionator, a gun that lets you visit other realities. I wonder if I could use it to go to a reality where Halo didn't suck. Not that that matters, as Nefarious stole it. We broke it, and in turn kinda, maybe definitely, broke the universe. Regardless of its current state, it was still in the hands of the bad doctor, and we needed it back, so we engage him in combat, which results in Nefarious having a tantrum and opening a rift to that new universe. It's Night City. And in this new universe, we immediately confront Nefarious only to be separated from Clank and knocked out by the Dimensionator exploding.
What's with all the neon?
This is the part where you lose. Ratchet, the Dimensionator.
Which realistically should have killed our protagonist and scrapped the bots. Oh well, Clank gets botnapped by the character we met at the start, Rivet, Ratchet's dimensional counterpart. Getting back to Ratchet, however, it's time to wake up, Lombax. We've got a city to burn. Forced references aside, upon waking up, we pick up our first trophy and are greeted by several robots who seem to worship this universe's version of Nefarious.
We are so lucky to have such a clever and malevolent ruler.
Makes sense, seeing as he's the Emperor, although that being said, it does look like there's a resistance being led as we're dragged to the side by a lovely green robot as Rivet runs on by with Clank in tow, only to immediately go off-world. So, new primary mission, get a ship to go off-world. How do?
Only royal starships are allowed to leave. Anything else? Phantom can help. Just follow the beat to Club Nefarious and
Find Phantom, who turns out to be this universe's Skid. En route to finding Skid, however, we get yet another trophy for opening a rift into a pocket dimension, then another immediately after for bouncing on some floaties, and another for picking up a shiny new hat, and then swapping into a new outfit entirely. I chose the Marauder set and left the pocket dimension to find Phantom, which sadly triggers a resistance alert once we enter the nightclub. It was either us or Phantom, and I think we're gonna blame Phantom. We're not part of the resistance yet, so it's technically not our fault. We're more than likely going to join the resistance though. Two Nefariouses can't be good for any universe. Moving swiftly on though, we link up with Phantom, who upgrades our suit to allow us to phase through security gates.
Secret handshake? Hey! do with it?
And after a fun defense section, he hands us an absolutely adorable hacking drone, which gets us into the Emperor's Tower, where we can steal his personal vehicle with the passcode. I don't need a passcode, I'm the Emperor. At which point we cut to River, who doesn't believe that Ratchet even exists, that Clank is from another universe, or that the evidence of the universe shattering is a result of anything but her universe's nefarious being, well, nefarious. At least, not until we rode up on the backs of a Speedle to collect yet another shiny hat, rescue a collective of rodents that are all called Mort. Wonder if there's a collective of Daves out there. We also grab our next trophy after being distracted by a space T-Rex that we converted to lunch before getting our first look into how badly we've fragged the multiverse by starting a chain reaction whereupon entropy will turn the entire multiverse into a formless soup. So that's fun. We fixed this little dimensional anomaly for the aforementioned trophy. Fixing the anomaly had the side effect of respawning the T-Rex that we had already dispatched, meaning we get another shot at making a southern fried T-Rex burger before lowering the bridge to the hideout, only to find one on the other side. Fortunately for me, however, this time I was riding a Speedle, and could avoid the big fella until I wasn't, which could have been bad, but the first weapon we got in the game hit level 5, tripling its damage output and putting Rexy down. With that done, we could enter Rivet's hideout and she could completely violate Clank's privacy by accessing his hard drive and looking at his recent memories.
Safe for now.
This is extremely unnecessary.
Turns out, that's all it took for her to believe Clank when it comes to Ratchet, Nefarious, and the incoming dimensional calamity. Clank forgives her for this, and is kidnapped by an angry Seekapede. We needed the assistance of a Speedle in chasing the mechanical beast, using it to mount it at speed and take out its flight stabiliser, grounding it and allowing us to fight it one-on-one. Only for it to get back up, taunt us, and fly away. Luckily, a Speedle was nearby and waiting to be mounted so we could speed off and down the needlessly large craft, unlocking our second story-based trophy and rescuing Clank. This surprises Clank, and River offers to help repair Clank's communication device. And so, with Clank rescued and the ship repaired by the Morts, we head off to Zerky's to acquire the required part. Little did I know that in order to get the part, I'd have to part with my weapons in order to even talk to the supplier. Fortunately though, I stole a plushie, which gained us yet another trophy. Unfortunately, however, the supplier was French. And as such, he not only refused to trade for the part, he also decided that he was too good to fight us for it, instead sending in a heavy, which made him a surrender bot. You'd think they would have programmed that aspect of the Frenchness out. The French Capitaine aside, we bested his minions and his heavy in order to acquire the part and have Clank Discord call Ratchet, brightening not only Ratchet's but Clank and Rivet's day tenfold. It was at this point Clank revealed that we need to rebuild the Dimensionator, and the trio formed a plan to get the parts. Unfortunately for them, I wanted more time in the arena, where I struggled to defeat some goons with a shotgun, best an ancient space Rex, and then sent a Speedle veering off to its death in a time trial in order to acquire a shiny. But once I had acquired the shiny, I had to leave because Zerky Jr. wouldn't allow me to partake in the silver trials of the arena. I'll be back, little droid. I will become your champion. Because of this, I had to leave the planet and send Rivet and Clank to planet Blizzard and Ratchet to Savala, and en route, we'd find out that Nefarious knew where we were heading and put Rivet on yet another hit list. One for each maniacal robot overlord. One for each maniacal robot overlord. I switched over to Ratchet and met up with Gary, who sent me off to find his apprentice, who appears to be Clank's dimensional counterpart, only she never met River, and it shows. She's timid and hesitant to even link up with Ratchet, but after a quick chat and a realisation that she needs help getting back to the archives that are currently walking away, she joins us and gives us one of the most fun items I've found in the game thus far, the hover boots. Or as I'll be calling them, the Go Fast boots, because Clank knows, as do the developers, we all need to go faster, which tied into a later, story-based achievement where we got on a boost track and gave chase to the archives.
Yes! The rift! No! They're already here! They will destroy everything!
And once we landed upon the structure, cleared out the Legion of Nefarious' goons, we entered the archive and found the schematics for the Dimensionator and the location of the forge to craft it. At which point, the archive got put under siege and Clank, no Kate, says her goodbyes to Ratchet and enters big mode, eliminating every foe in sight before almost turning on Ratchet and turning him into a Lombax omelette.
It has been fun, Ratchet.
That was amazing! Kit! It's just me!
This reinforces the idea to Kit that she's a bad companion and a worse friend. But Ratchet is undeterred. He knows that all she needs is her very own Lombax to call her own.
Thank you, Ratchet, for helping us.
Now heading back to the ship, I made a stop at our rotund green gun vendor and picked up another gun and fully upgraded our blast pistols before switching back over to Rivet and Clank. It still sounds wrong. Clank belongs with Ratchet and Rivet with Kit. To get the crystals needed for the Dimensionator, but there was just one tiny problem, and that was that the planet with them was a tad broken. Like, half of it was just gone. But the game didn't seem to care about that, and instead decided to remind me how to jump before I saw a crystal that I gave a gentle love tap that sent us to a whole new dimension, one in which the planet was not destroyed, which makes the immediate problem a non-issue. With the issue averted, we made our way to the mining station's chief engineer, who then sent us on a small job whereupon we'd meet Jim, who asked us to be his new best friend, and River heartlessly declined and sent him back to the engineer.
You should head back to the chief engineer.
Friendship request denied. Sad noises. Returning to chief engineer.
We followed on, and dimensional rifts opened up, bringing in enemies from Rivet's dimension, most notably a Juggernaut, who helped us gain a trophy for killing multiple enemies with a single round of the ricochet. Once we cleared out the enemies, the engineer gave us the go-ahead to use the drill and assigned Jim to escort us there. This time, River accepted his friend request.
Hello, are you my new best friend?
Sure?
Happy noises.
Good River, not all droids are evil.
In the name of
So, while we ventured forth to use the drill, another problem reared its ugly head, this time in the form of another anomaly, and this one took me much longer than I'd like to admit. Puzzles are not a thing I'm good at, and I won't lie, I was tempted to make use of the skip puzzle option in the pause menu, but I didn't. Anyway, upon fixing the anomaly, we activated the big drill, and the chief engineer finished decoding the message her droids brought her. We should not have turned the drill on. Turning the drill on was a bad thing to do. It destroyed the other Blizzard, and just to make things worse, a horde of enemies showed up to make the entire thing that much more stressful. Fortunately, however, the arrival of a bunch of enemies provided a solution to the impending destruction of the planet in the form of having one of them ram a ship into the drill once we got what we came for, which admittedly goes against so many health and safety regulations, but hey, I think breaking health and safety is preferable to half your planet being yeeted into the void of space. Sadly, the dislocated drill put both the Crystal and Clank at risk, and River correctly chose to make sure that Clank was safe. This came with the side effect of shattering the crystal we need, but all hope is not lost just yet, as the Morts told River of a legendary fixer who can fix anything, and so off to their planet we go. Only to find out he's turned off, and that the French droid is taking full advantage of this by plundering the planet. Such cowardice, which is only magnified by the fact he brought in another heavy to try and best me, and when that failed, he fled. Pierre, if you want my respect, you've got to fight me instead of having your heavies fail. And speaking of that failure, he doesn't even accept ownership of it because he's merely the face of the operation and not the one doing the things and stuff. He is a droid with absolutely no honour, unlike the Fixer, who only broke because he had an existential crisis and got distressed about there being so much to fix and came to the conclusion that destruction is the natural state of all things. But Clank managed to talk him out of this state, and thus the crystal was repaired, along with the Fixer's lack of hope.
Thank you.
You just gave an old giant robot the gift of hope. It should be I who is thanking you.
Phew. Let's get back to the ship, shall we?
Yes. Oh, I hope Ratchet had an easier time.
And with that, it's time to do the switcheroo yet again as we land on Kadaro Station to begin forging the Dimensionator with Ratchet and Kit. Once we arrived at the station, located on a planet that looks very much like Camino, I remembered the fact that Kit had mentioned that this was the most secure location in the galaxy, for the entrance had multiple enemies that wanted to party, and so I brought out the fun guys for entertainment and murder. Unfortunately, the higher-ups weren't fond of the party, so they brought down the entrance elevator, which would not stop us, as once we dealt with everyone on the platform, we found a Blizzon crystal that sent us into a new and exciting dimension. Where we'd find the station is a bit, well, a lot of disrepair, alongside a disproportionately happy droid in the form of Junkbot, who thought we were his friend, Juice. He informs us that there is a forge in this dimension, but it hasn't worked in a hot minute, so we need to find another crystal to get back to the functional station, which is something Junkbot is all too happy to escort us to, and as he does, we get multiple glimpses of Juice, who looks like he could do some real damage, and it turns out he chases down Junkbot on a regular basis, which makes Junkbot think that they're friends. Once we get to the crystal, we appear inside the station and scare several research drones before meeting up with this universe's version of Junkbot and lie to his face by saying we're first-class interior decorators, and for some reason, he buys it. Which buys us time to use the forge, only for Ratchet to run the forge on auxiliary power, causing it to mate like a tree and explode, alerting the entire station to our presence and causing Dr. Nefarious to shout at Junkbot for not checking if we're licensed. We're not, and as such, we escaped, and during our escape, We picked up a spy bot for the Planning Some Destruction trophy. After grabbing that spy bot, we found our way back to the other dimension with a new plan. Fix this dimension's forge. First problem. The power source is missing, and we can't find it, so we return to the other universe to steal their power source, only to find out it's juice, which is something Junkbot didn't agree with.
Come here. Okay, look out past the reef. I just saw it playing around and look, you see it? How does it swim like... Oh, is that a hello? Wait, what are you guys doing? You're hurting it! Stop! Stop this right now! Stop!
And so scrapped everyone in his station to protect Juice. Unfortunately, in this dimension, Junkbot was far less moral and let them capture Juice, so we did the right thing and released the power source, and she's friendly. Well, friendly to us. She shreds Nefarious' forces, absolutely wrecks them, which makes me wonder, how did they capture her in the first place? Regardless of that though, she wants to come with us to the other dimension because she can probably smell the other juice on us. And the second we got back, they immediately click. And reward us for saving her by willingly powering up the forge and allowing us to craft the Dimensionator.
Restored to maximum level. Schematics uploaded.
Did it work? Yes, we did it, kid! You are a good partner.
Here is to new friends!
And with that done, it was time to go and meet up with River and Clank at Zerky's. K and Clank seem to click almost instantly, as do River and Ratchet, which is likely due to them being dimensional counterparts, and the moment is good, it's wholesome. But it's interrupted by one Dr. Nefarious rocking up and celebrating the fact that his problems deliver themselves to him in this universe, prompting River and Kit to engage in combat with the Doctor, only for us to find that he's quite clearly been upgrading himself off screen. I don't recall him being able to carpet bomb a large area for one. And with the Dimensionator in hand, he truly is a worthy opponent. Unlike Pierre. At one point he brought in a T-Rex and justified it as the fight now being 2-on-2. Only, that's not exactly fair, seeing as Kit is functionally a backpack. We dealt with the Rex, making it one step closer to extinction as Nefarious sent us hurling through dimensions. We then landed on a rail section, whereupon we displayed some nice moves and alerted some potential grind rail sponsors. Once landing back in Zerk Jr.'s arena though, we bested the bad Doctor, only for the Emperor to enter the fray after dealing with Ratchet and Clank, and I gotta say, this Nefarious doesn't have droid rot like ours. This Nefarious does not play around. After finding out some people were celebrating the Doctor's defeat, he heartlessly voided them with the Dimensionator and threw down the gauntlet for us to fight the two of them on Rivet's homeworld, but we can't fight them alone.
Come on! Give it up for Rivet and her first victory! I wish I could have been here sooner. However, I am thrilled to announce that I finished neutralizing my enemies. With the exception of Captain Quantum and... Anyway, when I heard that the Rebel Lombax was battling me, I had to.
Come here, the universe celebrate your defeat?
Who was celebrating? You mean them?
No!
Wait! I've been fighting rebels for years. Let me help you wipe them out.
Ah, my, strange fan wants to assist. Tantalizing. Why don't we make this interesting? A home game, perhaps?
It's going to Sargasso. I have to get there first.
We're coming with you. Ratchet, we must find Quantum. He is the last rebel on that list.
Go to Ardolis and find Pierre. He'll take you to him.
So, Rivet plans to go to her home planet, while Ratchet plans to go forth to recruit the pirates, and by extension, Pierre, to assist in the fight. I disagreed with this plan, and dove into the Silver Cup of Zerky Jr.'s arena, where I'd survived wave after wave of enemy, once with a hazard running rampant across the board, once with poison slowly ticking down our health, once with just a rocket launcher, and once with a gun that turns our enemies into ice cubes, and then rematch the Seekapede with little difficulty. And with that done, we were one step closer to becoming the champion of the arena. But unlike last time, we won't complain about not being allowed to access the next cup. The fight with Nefarious showed us we're not strong enough yet, so we're heading back through previous levels and gathering collectibles and side quests, starting with Nefarious City back at the very start of the game, where I'd not only run through a factory and collect a spy bot, but pick up every available golden bolt on the planet, before heading off and returning to Savali, where I'd picked up 12 lobs, both learning and preserving some Lombax history for future generations, along with the planet's available collectibles, and finding some of Nefarious' citizens having a fantastic time together on the desert world. Then, repeating the process back on Blizzard Prime, where I'd help a chef find inspiration and gain the Extreme Gardening Trophy, while defending an extractor which rewarded me with sweet, sweet victory. And with that, we've unlocked damage numbers and upgraded multiple weapons, and as such, it's time to get back on with the show, and we'll pick back up with Ratchet and Clank as we go to try and recruit the pirates for the cause. Upon arriving on Ardolis, I'm greeted with the knowledge that Pierre is to be executed, and this immediately filled me with joy. Up until the realisation that I'd have to rescue him from his own people, which, as you can probably guess, dear viewer, is something I'd really, really rather not do. Can I just talk to one of the other pirates to find Captain Quantum? No? I have to rescue the coward. God damn it. I had to rescue the coward. But fortunately, and there is a silver lining here, this is not copium. After we rescued him, and he gave us the information, we didn't cut him down. So, until one of the other pirates cut him down, which is unlikely, he's stuck there for hopefully a long time. Anyway, with the information on how to find the captain in hand, we're off to complete the pirate trials for an audience with the captain. And the trials include a memory game in the form of a sea shanty, flushing out a virus with glitch, and then performing a fake treasure hunt, which gave us a swanky new outfit and the audience we sought. Only to find that it's this universe's version of Captain Quark, and he's pretending to be a robot in order to lead the band of pirates. Unfortunately, we blew his cover after he told us he'd bugged the Emperor and made those very same pirates think we had murdered him in cold blood, resulting in them leading an assault on us, and the performance made him proud. So we did what we do best and held our ground, fending off wave after wave of pirates until we had to down a ship with a scuttler, which we couldn't do by conventional means, so we summoned and fed the Kraken.
So, this Captain Quark, is he a pirate in your dimension too?
No, he's a hero. Even though he's betrayed us, surrendered to save his own skin, taking credit for our...
He's a hero?
Because no matter how many times he screws up, he's always there when it matters most. He never stops trying.
The dimension's falling apart. The Emperor's all-powerful, and my life's in danger. Perfect time for a career change.
And there...
Saving ourselves and the captain, only for the Emperor to show up and remind us that he is functionally a god while he has the Dimensionator in hand, and sent Quantum off to prison, but not before Quantum yeeted us to safety. It almost feels wrong to be saved by Quark.
Quantum actually saved us. Wow.
Now that we were safe, it was time to wrap things up on our door list before swapping over to Rivet, and by that I mean grabbing a map that would have come in handy earlier because it shows me the location of all collectibles. Something which a friend told me I should have done at the time, but I didn't listen. Anyway, back to Rivet and back to Sargasso, where it turns out the two Nefarious are laying waste to the planet, attacking everything and everyone on the planet, including the Morts. But the Morts weren't willing to sit back and take it. No, remember the Seekapede from earlier? We're going to repair it, and the Morts are going to pilot it and defend their home. We just have to get to it, where we encounter a hologram of the twins, only to find out that by comparison, the Doctor is a short stack when compared to his counterpart, and that the Emperor treats him like he's the annoying little brother. After fighting through hordes of their troops, we encountered and fixed an anomaly with Kit, and once out of the anomaly, it was time for the Morts to take the Seekapede to the sky and defend their home. And they wouldn't be the only ones. We'd also be taken to the sky by riding the Dragon Trudy to assist in stopping the invasion, especially when the twins turn up the heat and begin glassing the planet. So, with the help of Trudy, we took out the mothership, and then the Emperor appeared and sent us to a pocket dimension where we'd find out that it was Kit who blasted Rivet's arm off. Moving on from that revelation, we're headed to Xerxes to relink with Ratchet and Clank, only we're not, as en route to Xerxes, the bug picked up the Emperor's talking about his plans to grab the dimensional map, and upon landing in Savali, we see the archives have been destroyed, and the dead are rising up from the grave. I do not like Bone Goons, and after fighting through both them and Nefarious' troops, we enter the archives to see the full extent of the damage, and that the map is gone, with Gary and the monks being nowhere to be seen. At this point, we switch over to Rivet and Kit as they enter the flagship with ease, killing troop after troop until we reach the helm, where we find... Gary? No, he's not betrayed us. He was kidnapped after he hid the map in an anomaly, the final anomaly. And in order to get there, we switch back over to Ratchet and begin turning on some mining equipment to gain access to the catacombs, where we find the final glitch terminal and defeat the Master Virus for a golden bolt before making our way to and fixing the anomaly, meaning we got the map and also that we led the Emperor to the map. So, off to prison Ratchet and Clank go, as Rivet and Kit show up just too late, and Kit reveals to Rivet that it was her who took her arm, and as Kit attacks the Emperor, the Doctor sends her to prison.
What are you doing here?
Rivet dejectedly makes her way to the prison planet Zordoom. Sorry, couldn't help myself. Rivet dejectedly makes her way to the prison planet Zordoom alone, and as we traverse the outside, it looks like the rifts are getting worse and worse, meaning that the impending cataclysm is getting even closer. Fortunately though, we make our way into the prison and find Clank just as he's about to be incinerated. But there's no sign of Ratchet, but we did see Phantom, Quantum and a random sheep. And find out from Clank that Ratchet and Kit are being sent to maximum security, something that cannot be allowed to happen, so we fight our way through the many useless guards, pursuing our friends along the way until we come to the Warden's office and initiate an emergency shutdown, only for the remaining power to be rerouted to priority prisoners, of which Ratchet and Kit are. Oh, also, we turned off the cell doors to every other cell, so we may have definitely started a riot in our efforts to rescue the two, and once we get to them, it turns out neither have any ideas on how to get out, and Rivet vents some of her frustrations to Kit as giggle gas is pumped into the building as we hop on a grind rail to get out, which I definitely didn't fail twice. Once outside though, we scrapped every bot that stood in our way to rescue Ratchet and Kit, where both Kit and Rivet had a much needed conversation, but unfortunately Kit decided that it would be best if she re-isolated herself and Savala, despite Rivet's attempt to forgive her. And with one presumably awkward flight back to Xerxes and an argument between the two Lombaxes, we're in the endgame now, which means that this is our last chance to go and get some things done, or at least that's what I thought when I was doing this, so I delayed facing off against the twins and went on a tiny adventure, which started with toying around with the karaoke machine, before making my way all the way back to Sargasso, the planet I spent the most time on, to finally assist Trudy after her glorious display in the previous act. She was understandably hungry after helping take out the mothership. Once we fed her though, we got some boots and a spy bot in the process, then we took a pit stop at Rivet's place to watch some TV, despite it really not being the time to do so. Along with that, we downed another Space Rex to make that 5 during the playthrough, and as such, cause a minor extinction event, which wrapped up everything that we needed to do on Sargasso and led us off to Cordelion to activate the final Blizon crystal to get Shifty character, and then off to Savali to pick up the last of the plushies, which gave us the unbearably awesome trophy. I also had a look around for Kit, but she was nowhere to be found. Hope she's okay. I don't like how they left things. Anyway, after making a quick stop to each of the planets to pick up a spy bot, we headed back to Zert Jr.'s bar, and it was time for me to make good on a promise I made near the start of the video. Junior, I'm gonna become your champion and beat the Gold Cup. He had me survive several waves against a new and improved Mangler, which was being reinforced by the loveliest of undead creatures, but they were no match for Rivet. Then, presumably because he thought it was funny, he took away my control over the weapon I use, but this backfired when he gave me the Apocalypse Glove. Those little dudes are as destructive as they are adorable. Probably my favourite weapons, and when he realised that wouldn't deter me from becoming his champion, he once again took control of my weapons, only allowing me to use a sniper rifle. And even though I'm about as accurate as a stormtrooper, I still managed to take out multiple enemies with headshots, giving me the Hole Puncher trophy. This is where I think he gave up, because he lowered the gravity and sent waves of goons to die at my hand before throwing in the towel and having me rematch the Seekapede and the undead T-Rex. It was fun, and I gained yet another spy bot out of it, meaning there was one left, and it was at this gas drop up. So once I picked it up, I could finally get the Rhino 8, a weapon capable of the most destruction this universe has ever seen, and with this gun, I had become Is that Jack and Daxter? This meant that I had done everything I could do. Well, everything bar one, but we'll come back to that later. It was time to talk to Quantum and make plans on how we're going to take on the twins, at which point they opened up a broadcast declaring that they're going to invade and conquer Ratchet and Clank's home dimension, something which Dr. Nefarious was not happy about, not in the slightest, but it can't really compete with his counterpart, so he has to let it happen, and with this knowledge in hand, not just Rivet tags along, but quite literally everyone. Even Pierre. Though, once we got home, some heavy damage had already been done. The invasion was well underway, and the only way we could stop them was to best the two Nefariouses in combat, and that was the plan. So we made our way up to the two mechanical madmen, which prompted the Emperor to activate Big Mode. He called it his power suit, but Big Mode sounds better to me, and as Ratchet said, we were finally fighting a version of Nefarious that was as big as his ego, just as fragile too. Plus, it wasn't the main threat during this section of the fight. Gravity was, as I kept accidentally jumping off of the platform and plummeting down to my death. It doesn't matter what game I play, gravity is always the biggest threat. But once I managed to stay on the platform long enough to defeat him, I went inside him and blew up his cold, mechanical heart. Or at least, the cold mechanical heart of Big Mode, and teleported out with the help of Gary and the monks, leaving Rivet to fight the Emperor alone. And as we fight, we find he's more delusional than the Doctor, thinking that everyone loves him, while he doesn't care that he's destroying the very fabric of reality with the Dimensionator. Halfway through the fight, he calls for reinforcements, only for them to be shot down as they arrive by Kit, who apologises for running away and helps fend off the Emperor's troops as we whittle his health bar down, and once it hits zero, he has a tantrum of epic proportions when he tries to call in his loyalists, only for a bunch of fish to show up in their stead. This results in Ratchet getting his hands on the Dimensionator, and with the assistance of the Doctor, fed the Emperor to Bubbles the Kraken.
You really thought you had me? Get off of me, you loathsome... Please, we can win this together!
What do you know about winning?
Finishing the game and leaving us with 2 trophies before the Platinum, one needing us to go into New Game Plus and pick up 2 dirt cheap weapons from the inferior Zerkia, and then the final return policy, which requires the use of my least favourite weapon in the game, the Void Repulsor, which, at this point, is thankfully at level 3, but in order to get this final trophy, I had to level it up to 5, at which point it became the Void Reactor, and to do this, I ran through the very first trial of the arena, over and over and over and over, treating it like a subpar shotgun. Then, once it evolved at level 5, I took great pleasure in killing all 10 of those enemies, knowing that each kill brought me one step closer to never having to use this gun again. And with that, we unlocked Masters of the Multiverse, my first PlayStation Platinum. I am an Above Average Panda, and I hope you enjoyed the video. I never have to use that gun again!